DeFi Kingdoms, where you can summon heroes, trade with other players, quest, and fight challenging enemies in a fantasy world brought to life in pixel art animation. Command your legion, claim your legacy.
Hello, everybody, and welcome on this beautiful Thursday to another DeFi Kingdoms AMA. We're going to be doing some updates, talking about the patch that will be coming out a little bit later today, and then we will dive into some questions from you, our fine folks in our community. So, kicking things off, let's talk about the patch that's going to be coming a little bit later today. Let's see, Magnus, you wanna start off on that?
Yeah, sure thing. So the last month or so, we've Hubert and I have been working on some gas optimization updates for quests. It's looking pretty promising. So just a high-level overview. I won't go into all the details there, but that's going to be launching later today after the AMA. Basically, we changed a few things where heroes now get processed in batches, and so that leads to some efficiency gains. The main thing overall is we moved a lot of the data storage from the start quest transaction over to the complete quest transaction, and then just we're doing all that in memory instead. So basically, you're going to see lighter start quest transactions in terms of gas, and then the complete will bump up a little bit, but there's a net reduction in gas usage between those two transactions. And then coupled with that, we're also bumping up the number of attempts and heroes that can be used on the Klaytn side of things, because we had the efficiency gains, and then also they had a hard fork, I believe, like the start of March, and we did some testing, and they're actually going to let us do a bit more than they could prior to the hard fork in terms of questing, and we're still evaluating some potential for multi-questing there. But yeah, overall, questing is getting a pretty significant reduction in gas usage, and then we're also taking advantage of the new things on the Klaytn side to allow more heroes to be used over there. So, yeah, Hubert, you have anything to add on that?
Yeah, I guess just we did one little just like numeric comparison. It is going to be like anytime you're using like more heroes on a quest, you're going to see better benefits than like if it's just a single hero. And just like comparing to like before and afters with the start side on like a foraging quest, it was like I'd say like a 40% reduction in gas or so. On that side, but on the complete side, it ended up being just like slightly higher than that, just because we're doing a little bit more storage accessing over there. But I think that's true maybe for the fishing and foraging and probably gardening as well. But I expect mining quests on the complete side also to become cheaper than they were because of some additions that we made there, and we haven't like closely looked at the difference there yet. And then also, I think the other thing is that we are going to need to turn off or just pause questing for a little bit after this AMA, just so that we can get these updates done and ensure that there's no weirdness that happens to you guys while we're doing that. So I guess just expect, if you have any quests you want to complete or get started, I mean, it's fine if they are like in process while we're doing this upgrade, but you just won't be able to complete or start them during. So take note if you want to make any adjustments to what you have right now, and now is the time to do it.
I believe we're also making a change to training quests, right?
Yep, that's also true. We are no longer limiting it to 5 attempts. We had reasons for doing that were kind of tied to our original leaderboard back in the day. And it just kind of stuck around since then, but we've since just decided to abandon that design approach and no longer have like a hard limit on them. It's just as much stamina as you can spend, you'll be allowed to do in one go.
Very nice. And while you have the mic, we're also going to be making some changes to egg drop rates. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Yeah. So with the eggs, kind of when we originally were designing the questing, and I guess when I was doing that, like at the time we had far fewer heroes than we had now, and it was also like I'll just say I didn't project things getting as like easy to get, these eggs being as easy to get as they have become when we did it. I think there was just kind of a bad analysis on my part, perhaps. Also, just not anticipating as many heroes being out, and the kind of result is we've kind of seen the demand for eggs drop significantly, which was never really the intent. Pets were supposed to be a very rare and desired thing, and something where it's hard to get your hands on. That's kind of become not the case at this point, especially for fishing and foraging. So to at least like start to correct that ship, we are reducing the drop rate of eggs by about a factor of 10, and also changing the slope of like growth for your chances by a factor of like 13.5 on gardening and mining, and then fishing and foraging actually had an even higher growth rate because you could get an egg for every roll that occurs for any fish or plants, and that you can get like 3 or more rolls depending on like which quest you're doing and what pet you have. So you could potentially get like up, I think, to 5 on like a level 10 fishing quest. So I mean, it's very rare, but it was possible just for a single attempt. So that's been adjusted now. There's just a single egg roll that is separated out from the standard loot table of those quests, and so each attempt will have 1 chance. And the numbers have been adjusted so that they're very closely matching what the chances are for the same amount of stamina spent on gardening and mining. So that is going to also take effect when we do these upgrades. I guess to also kind of compensate for that adjustment down, we are also going to be multiplying the bonus that pets provide on the clutch collector profession bonus by 4 times. So like if you had 50% chance increase on your pet bonus before, it's going to be 200% increase now. So that will also take effect when we do this. And let's see. Yeah, so I mean that's kind of the general philosophy behind us doing that. I think for the time being, there's so many eggs out there that it's probably not going to be a like noticeable effect in terms of like what is available. But I think over time that's going to kind of we'll see an adjustment down of the current supply versus like the influx in supply as well. So it's kind of the expectation there. We'll see how things go and keep monitoring it. But yeah. And yeah, I guess I did have other updates too. I can move on.
Yeah.
Since Fox is not available today, I'll just mention that we do have duels. The duels build now is in testing. So we are making good progress there. Let's see. I think so that if everything goes well and we don't find any bugs, that probably puts us not this week, but potentially within the next couple of weeks we should have that out, unless we kind of run into something that we need to spend some more time fixing. So looking forward to getting that out. And it is a pretty big upgrade. There's quite a few different changes that were made, plus those extra modes. And it's kind of also set up so that for in the future, we won't need to have these very large gaps where we kind of do these big revamps, because it's all going to use the same contract and instead of being like a whole new contract each time. So looking forward to that.
Most definitely. Beetle Dude, anything you want to talk about with today's patch?
Sure. There are so many things in today's patch, but I guess specifically for my interests, what I've been working on is the combat engine improvements. Excited to get those out. It's going to be quite a few little bug fixes, some quality of life improvements, some better indicators of when you're going to be triggering demon box and things. So some fun little additions coming out with that, and also some nice quality of life stuff with the equipment viewer. Sorry to all those who love having your birthday hats at the top and at the bottom and everywhere in between. You're gonna only have one row. But yeah, just this is one of those releases that just kind of snowballed, and now we have a big giant release with a whole bunch of cool things. So props to Typical, Mr. Zipper, KP, Magnus, everyone. If I'm missing anybody, I'm sorry. Pinecone, I'm sure. But yeah, just a whole bunch of stuff. Everyone kind of had a hand in it, and just making everything run a little bit smoother all the time, which is great.
For sure. Appreciate all of you fine folks. In terms of timing, Hubert, you kind of hinted at it, but do we have a time plan for dropping that release today?
Yeah, so just after this AMA, we're planning to get started on doing the contract upgrades. I think on the front end side, there might be a little bit more. And Beetle, you should be. I won't talk for you, so if you want to add more to that, but at least on the contract side, once that part is done, there might be a little bit of like if we get the contract done and everyone can quest again, the efficiency upgrades will be there. But there may be a little bit of a gap between like seeing the 4 times bonus on your pet cards between before like it's there, but it will be at least happening on the contract side. So if you're using the clutch collector bonus.
Yep, that sounds pretty accurate. We'll be trying to get the front end updates up fairly quickly after AMA, so it should be pretty synced at least.
Sweet. Appreciate y'all. Sunbear, I know you just hopped over from a Metagoons Twitter space. Any updates or anything you wanted to give before we move into questions?
No major updates. GDC, I feel like our objectives there were met. We wanted to go out and really support Avalanche and get to know other games from the subnets on Avalanche. Incredible booth there. Wanted to really, spend some time with Doug Hype, who's got the Visage in the game now, who loves this game, loves this community, and is doing a good job to really, help people learn about it and be aware of it, and get their heroes with some cool glasses and fur coats, which was fun. Spent some great time with lots of different games actually, and even spent some time with Holiday. So you probably heard some of this already, but yeah, so it's a nice report from them. In fact, the space we just did with Metagoons, we were talking about Web3 and GDC and the shift that we're seeing with the gaming industry of really not cringing so much when they hear Web3 or see Web3 and getting more interested, and different approaches of ways that it's growing, where we're kind of bringing Web 2 games into Web 3 to be more Web 3 enabled and to create some of that security or ownership utilizing some of the technology. And of course, kind of with us on the other end of the spectrum, building out this amazing, MMORPG on a blockchain in a tokenized economy, and then working toward, the playable PvP, PvE that we have this year. So lots of good conversations and great connections made at these events. So happy to be here.
Appreciate it, good sir. And speaking of Metagoons, we will also be doing an AMA in their Discord tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern. So if you miss my voice and want to hear more of it, hop in there. If you check out Twitter, they have a tweet, and we've of course retweeted it, but we're giving away some tavern vouchers. And so we're giving some of them away on their tweet, and then some more away during the AMA in the Discord. So if you're able to tune in, please make sure you do. It should be a really good time. Metagoons is a really cool group, and so I'm excited to hop in there and talk more with their community as well. All right. Any last updates or anything that I forgot before we move into questions? Good deal. First question for Hubert. Will the addition of the planned new reward mechanic for Void Hunts be released at the same time with the change to the guild no longer providing basic equipment?
I will say that is possible, but the two are not necessarily linked in terms of requirements. It's more just a matter of having the time and resources to get one done. With durability, we do have like kind of a specific timeline for when we want that out, but the one for hunts is a matter of having more of me time to focus on it, honestly, which there's a lot of things I'm trying to focus on right now, so it's I'm holding it up. It's my fault.
You all heard it here first. We can all blame Hubert. Uh, We know that the team has several combat and game enhancements planned to be released prior or with PvP. Can we elaborate at all on which ones, and are there any particular ones stipulated in our agreement with Metis?
So yeah, our agreement with Metis does not include any like specific features besides just launching PvP and launching tournaments. So everything that is kind of additional that we're trying to put in is just our own desire to like have a more fleshed out combat system and experience for you guys. So we do have a few things that we're going to try to have ready, but it's there's no like contractual promise tied to that. So we'll get as much done as we can. But yeah, nothing more I can really say on that front right now.
Thank you, sir. Beetle Dude question. As the team plans for PvP rollout, any thoughts on making PvP more accessible via mobile?
Yeah, that is a good question. I guess supposedly people are able to like make it work currently, but obviously it's not optimized for mobile, the combat experience. I mean, I like to think of it as like our game is optimized and ready for desktop. I think even iPad is a decent experience, but mobile or even specifically like a mobile app is not something that we're prioritizing at the moment. Just because I think it would probably come at the same time as we do some UI updates with the interface there. Because it'll need a little bit of rework to make sure that we can fit all the same information on a mobile screen. And so yeah, it's definitely on the roadmap. Probably not something that we're prioritizing right out the gate. But if we have extra time or if we're ahead of the game, I think it's something that we could and would look at to increase our market share there, since it's a really big piece of the pie. So yeah, I think it'll just depend on timing and how quickly we can get to the core of what PvP is going to end up being.
Beautiful, thank you, sir. And yeah, I'll just repeat the plug that if you're trying to play on mobile and you're using MetaMask Mobile, I highly recommend switching to Halliday. It's a much better mobile experience, including landscape view, which is something that MetaMask Mobile doesn't support, and makes your screen size even smaller. So let's see. Back to Hubert for a moment. Thoughts on having hunts be gated to continuing to level your hero, in essence. So once a hero has reached full XP for their level, they have a certain amount of time or a certain number of hunts before they are blocked without leveling that hero.
Yeah, I'm not that idea kind of sounds rude to me. I mean, we do have some limits where there's a base level for hunts that people have to meet, but just forcing people to level up before they can play again with certain heroes kind of feels just like pretty heavy-handed and not something that I'd really feel comfortable doing. I mean, we can look at well, I mean, we've already done a few things to increase the incentive to level up by increasing like the drop rate of moksha runes and the amount of experience that you gain. I will also mention that there is kind of an aspect to this additional reward mechanic that is, we keep alluding to, but not saying more about, that also will include the level as an aspect to it. So I think I'd rather just lean more into just making it a little more rewarding to do higher level hunts than just like straight up block heroes from being able to play. It just seems a little bit unfair and too heavy handed for me anyway.
Appreciate it. Bouncing back to Beetle for a moment. Can we have a not for sale filter for pets?
Yeah, that's a great question. When I read this originally, I was like, I thought we did, but it looks like we do not currently. But we do for heroes, so I assume that the API supports it. So I don't see a reason why we couldn't. We'll add it to the list. It's doable. Yes.
Jumping back to Hubert, any thoughts on a way to incentivize holding a Gen 0 in regards to hunts?
Yeah, I mean, Gen Zeros kind of have a very specific purpose in that, they have unlimited summoning. But I mean, beyond that, they are, generally treated just as any other hero. I don't think that there's, a specifically, I guess game related reason to give them more for doing hunts. It's more about their summoning capacity, I think. So probably would not do something like that until maybe down the road there will be some reasons for that to be more considered. But at least for right now, I don't think we would be doing anything like that.
Thank you. Another one for you. What is the team's position on expanding the item slots? For example, not having amulets and helmets share the same slot.
Do you want us to take even longer? It takes a lot of work to balance everything. Creating equipment takes some time. Balancing the effects of equipment and everything else. We made a pretty conscientious decision early on about how many slots of equipment we wanted to have. And we were sticking with that. Like if we were to adjust that, there would be a pretty major effort to overhaul all of our contracts. Then we'd have to relook at all of our balancing for everything. And then we just have more things that we'd have to create all the time when we're making things. So, it would be a pretty major effort to do that. I don't know, like, I can understand, where people are coming from with wanting to have, 2 different accessories equipped, which, eventually there will be the option to, turn accessories into visages. So once that's around, you could at least have potentially something that we can work out there. But even then, like we'd have to kind of look at, is it possible to have an accessory override only occur if it actually covers the same area on the hero? So even that would be a little bit of work. But yeah, it's just in terms of being able to balance things, it just we have a lot on our hands already, and it would just be adding more. I think that wouldn't be I expect the patience of the community would be tested if we were to kind of just be pushing it even harder there. So not something I'd like to do. I think even in I just think of it like a random example of where, like in Final Fantasy 14, if those that played that might actually recall that they actually took away the belt slot just to kind of simplify equipment there. And in that game, like they do have a ton of slots for equipment, and kind of the result of what they have at least done in their design is that pretty much every piece of equipment is very generic in terms of what it actually does. There's nothing really special or unique about anything other than its appearance. It's all just, essentially the same 8 stats that have just different plus numbers to it, but there's really nothing too special or cool about anything on those. So I think if we were to increase our slots, that would have to be the solution we take, is to just, you know, reduce the uniqueness of everything, just so that we can still be able to proceed forward with, you know, not getting too bogged down. You know, I think it's just our game is designed with this many slots, and this is how it will work, and it allows us to have the degree of flexibility that we have for it. You know, if we made different decisions, then it would be different, but I don't think we're going to change it now.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Is PvP automatically going to scale all heroes up or down to the same level?
Yeah, no, we're not going to do any scaling like that. That's a lot of work, and also doesn't really make sense, since, you know, how your hero is leveled really changes how it behaves. So no, we're not planning on doing anything like that.
Beautiful. Thank you, sir. Any thoughts on adding sponsors into the, I guess, either the hunts or the Coliseum area once the Coliseum is available, obviously?
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to talk about it internally. Right now, we haven't really discussed anything about what we'd want to do in the arena. But you know, we do right now. We have like our sponsored hunt raffles, and you know, you can see the logo there in the menu. You know, personally want to avoid like too much you know, external logos inside the game, but I think there could be places where it makes sense to do that. But just, you know, it's you know, it is a Web3 environment that we're in, and I can see where there's arguments to do some degree of that, but also just for the sake of, I don't think many people enjoy seeing like billboards all over inside their games for like real world advertisements and things like that either. I know I personally don't. So, you know, we're gonna always try to be looking at the balance of what makes sense, what's not going to be too invasive, and kind of take things from that angle. But there's nothing like in particular to say besides that, I think, on my end.
Appreciate the insight. Any consideration for a level override or difficulty slider for existing or future hunts, potentially for an entry premium? So, for example, a 15 crystal entry for level 13 teams to go against level 12 box.
Yeah, there's a lot of these questions. I feel like I'm just in no mode today. But yeah, no, that's you know, we want the hunts in particular to be difficult, and so that's why we have the level scaling in the way that they are. You know, there are ways that you can make it easier, of course, by using better heroes, by using more equipment, by using certain potions, which are all kind of ways to like reduce the difficulty. I don't know that we necessarily need to or should add additional measures and costs, like to pay a fee to reduce it even further. I'm not that keen on that idea, though. Again, I guess kind of alluding back to that mechanic we mentioned but don't talk about. That one might have some things that go in the opposite direction, but I'll just leave it at that.
I like that description of it. The thing we mentioned but don't talk about. Let's see. So there's a question about the new duels deathmatch feature. We do not have Fox here to really go into that, unfortunately. So we will talk more about that in the coming days and as testing proceeds. On a different note, though, do we anticipate having hero traits available for PvP tournaments?
I won't promise it, but I'll say I'm pushing for it really hard. But yeah, we're gonna have to see where we get. I am optimistic that we could have it ready for tournaments. But yeah, I think we're gonna just have to see. And when it gets closer to that optimism becoming reality, then, you know, we can maybe mention it when it get closer to it actually happening.
Speaking of the thing that we mentioned but don't talk about, it was mentioned that hunts completed up until Rockbach release would be getting an airdrop of some sort for drop rate changes. Is that still going to happen?
So I wonder if there's kind of some wires being crossed there. Like we did change at one point the like number of tiers that would be dropped, and there was an airdrop to kind of backfill for people that had completed hunts up to that point. But that happened kind of earlier on during the boar hunt. With the thing that shall be mentioned yet not named, we are planning to have like every hunt, not just up until Rockbach, but every hunt that's been completed until that feature is out, kind of be kind of back rewarded for you. So, yeah, just to I guess kind of clarify on that.
Yes. So every hunt will be considered once that feature is available. Thoughts on hero transfer restrictions for PvP, similar to how we have it in duels, so that people can't cycle heroes to new wallets to adjust ranking.
So yeah, I just to clarify, we are, as far as like with our contract for this, we do not have like an ELO based rank system as a part of it. It is something that we want to look at and do eventually, but I think our priorities are just going to be first being able to do like private PvP matches and then tournaments. And then we'll be looking at what we can add on beyond that after that point. So at least for the time being, I don't see there being a need to do anything about like limiting heroes to a specific wallet for then. But I could see there being arguments for us to do it if we do get add something like a rank system. So we'll talk about that more when we get closer to being able to do something like that.
All right. Let's see. As far as staking Jewel in the jeweler, any thoughts on having the jeweler rewards pulled and shared across chains?
Should have nominated Magnus to answer this one, but I'll just say that's not a simple thing to do. It would require a whole bunch of cross chain communication and cross chain bridging that happens automatically, and there would be all sorts of risk for things to go wrong in doing something like that. So I don't think we would do anything like that.
Yep, I'll just add on there as well. Those are two of our highest value contracts on each chain, and we like to keep those as simple by design as possible, just to minimize exploits and things like that. And of course, inserting a bridge in the middle would does open up some new attack vectors and additional risks. So that's the main reason is we just want to keep those as streamlined and kind of focused on one chain as possible to prevent any other potential attack vectors from opening up, and just keep things simple.
Beautiful. Appreciate you, gentlemen. Just to confirm, can y'all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
I was trying to post in chat and it said that there was a trouble connecting. So I just wanted to make sure y'all could still hear me before I kept talking.
Yeah, Bolon, it seems like there's a little skip every once in a while, but I don't think it's just you.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, we're going to roll with it. Is the fishing Vizzy an elaborate setup for making a mining Vizzy with a pickaxe, a foraging Vizzy with a basket, just so the team can have a viable excuse to create a Ho Vizzy for a Ho Vizzy NFT for heroes?
Oh no, they figured out our end game.
And that's the best you're going to get. Has there been any thought in lowering the crystal price for hunts?
Not really. I think, with the crystal price and just kind of with hunts in general, like it is intended to be kind of more of a premium feature. There's premium gear and equipment that you can get from it, and different it's our first like real combat experience. So at least for the time being, I don't think we would want to do that. And I guess I'll also note, like, part of, I think, what gives value to the equipment is that there is a kind of a cost to doing these hunts. And if there was no cost, or, you know, reduced cost, I think you'd also probably see equipment also have a reduced value as well. Though I guess that would be hard to know for sure unless we did it, but that's my expectation anyway.
Makes sense. Let's see. Is there a way to incentivize jewel pools on chains that do not have a DFK presence, such as like having gardeners? The short answer would be not really. When we go to a chain that we don't have a presence on and utilize the DEX there, we're pretty much just dependent on their rewards. You know, the question mentioned Trader Joe as an example, which is a good example. You know, we don't have gardening on Avalanche. We don't have heroes on Avalanche. We don't have a UI for it on Avalanche. So in order to do that, I mean, we'd basically be making at least a miniature realm in order to be able to have people do that, which just doesn't really make sense for, you know, every chain that we might be in a DEX on. So, you know, we try to make sure that we target DEXs that, you know, have some sort of reward mechanic or are, you know, pretty well known. You know, Trader Joe is the kind of the DEX of Avalanche, really. You know, Pangolin is out there as well, and they do good, but Trader Joe is pretty consistently the biggest. And when we look at other chains and their DEXs, you know, that's something that we take into account when we look at potentially seeding liquidity pools. There is how would it be incentivized, because we aren't really able to know. Let's see. We mentioned last week that the next class, which shall remain nameless for now, had entered testing. Anything we want to say on that, or the next class?
Yeah, yes. No, and yes. Just have your hand on the mute button. Just kidding. I won't say anything. The next class is is in balance testing currently. Once we get these combat engine fixes out, then we'll be diving in earnest. And then the next class, we've got some additional assistance working through the abilities there, so it's been progressing very quickly compared to other classes, along with just, you know, more mechanics already being added to the combat engine, so it makes it easier. So yeah, progressing very nicely. Hopefully also we'll be in balance testing soon, and we can sort of work on those in tandem somewhat, in most likely not released at the same time, but hopefully not too long after one another.
Thank you, sir. Is there a reason that green eggs have 4 more odd pool pets than blue and gray?
I guess I'll answer that. There isn't really a specific reason. It was just a matter of you know, with the ultra odds, we did plan on having 1 in each category of rarity, but with the odds, it was just a matter of what got done by the artists. And, you know, I guess, you know, with the next, with yellow and gold eggs, like it could be something completely different for those as well. So yeah, no real specific reason.
Thank you. That also answered the follow-up question, so appreciate that. Will Keepsies duels automatically unequip items and vizies on the loss? Obviously, again, Fox is not here, but I believe that is the intention, and we will follow up on that. Does the total combined luck of the team winning a loot reward get considered for that specific item's rolled stats?
Nope. It's just the luck is only applied to like your chance to get something. But once it's decided you will get something, it's just a flat roll against a loot table that doesn't change.
Very nice. How do you feel? Are you satisfied? Is the team satisfied with the impact that high luck has on item drop chance?
I think so, at least for now. I don't see anything that's happening that really gives me concern. Or maybe, if it's too little, if that's what the person asking was kind of feeling. I think it's in an okay spot at the moment, especially with, again, that which shall not be named coming in the future. I don't want to be making too many adjustments to what we have in place right now.
Cool. Thoughts on, I think this is really kind of getting it like a leaderboard kind of setup, maybe, or just, I guess, factoring these in at the end of the hunt. So boosting factors possible and desired to be implemented, such as faster clearing, usage of underutilized classes, no hero dying, no potions used. I guess basically like building those into consideration for the results of the hunt.
I do think that's an interesting thing to be able to add. I'd say it's not something that's kind of like I've seen other people suggest that. I've thought about it myself, and I do think it's kind of nice of an idea. Like there may be room for us to do that down the road, but it's also just something that I don't see us kind of prioritizing, because we need to have a bunch more kind of done on like the reporting side between our combat engine and our contracts, and add a whole bunch of new logic there. And we're hyper focused on a bunch of other things right now. So, keep that kind of in consideration for the future, but at least for right now, don't really see us doing anything there.
Thank you. This may not be one that you can answer off the top of your head, but I'm going to throw it out there for you anyway. So during the Perilous Journey, when Crystal and Stone death rewards were given for a hero's top stat, if those heroes were tied, then the heroes received the reward for the dominant stat of the hero. So, for example, a Sage died with a tied top stat of 20 luck and 20 int. Because it is a Sage, the player received an int reward. This is similar for using tier bonuses. Could we get a document that shows the dominant stat of heroes from most to least dominant, so we know which ones win in a tie?
So yeah, if I remember correctly, I think I just kind of had set things for the dominant stat for just breaking those ties. But that's not what happens with like the tiers actually. With tiers, it will first go by highest stat. If there's a tie there, it'll go by highest stat growth between the two tied things. If it's still tied, it'll go to the secondary growth factors and go with the highest of those two. And if even beyond that there's still a tie, then it will go by the order of stats on the contract, which ends up being like Dex is the least prioritized in that, and Strength is the highest, and that kind of goes through the list of the order that we have on the contract there. So I think it's super rare to get to that final tiebreaker, but I think, if I remember correctly, I think it actually can end up changing depending on if it's like the first stat that is like the first and second that are tied, or if it's the second and third that are tied. So it's kind of, that last little bit is a little bit randomish, but not really.
I think you have an acronym for that order of stats, don't you?
I do, but that's not what's on the contract. So,
oh, dang it.
Yeah.
It's a huge pet peeve of mine, actually. But
I was gonna pitch that too, but I realized.
Dang it.
yeah,
Such a good acronym, though.
it's a navy wool. That's what we have for what it's supposed to be. What I wanted it to be in the beginning, but the contract got written before that got set, and I was sad about it.
So I mean, in essence, the answer to this question, it's actually not based on the class. It's based on that specific hero, right? Because they could have different growth rates.
Right. Yeah. Like different subclasses will have different results, and like the how your like your genes kind of the blue stat gene where that landed. Anything that you did, like if you happen to use a greater atonement crystal on that hero, like it's really like what are your stat growth numbers, and is one of those two higher than the other? And it'll pick through there. So I think it's like super rare that it would ever get to that very final tiebreaker.
Very nice. Which Zip did just drop the contract order into chat. Oh, hey, I can do that. Haha, that's super useful. So that's the contract order for anybody who's wondering. Awesome. Let's see. Thoughts about adding a level up button to the My Hero viewer when a hero is ready, that just links directly into the meditation circle.
This sounds like a me.
You
Yeah.
slash your list.
I mean, I think it's possible. It might be getting a little cramped at this point with all the many buttons. But yeah, I don't see why not, though. I think now with like the leveling multi-queue, which is super nice, it might be easier just to go and do that, queue them up that way. But yeah, I don't see a reason why not to put it on the list. I don't know that we'll prioritize it too quickly, but there's always free time. Well, there's not always free time. Sometimes there's free time where things get done. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. Let's see. Thoughts on having a feature where you burn heroes in exchange for mats or stones and crystals. So you could like burn an archer and have an X% chance of a finesse something based on the hero rarity level, remaining summons, etc. At the pitch, you could have a soulstone dealer. I just wanted to say that, really.
Well, we have been talking about a new burn mechanic that we are working on, and I don't want us to really be doing anything other than what we're going to do with that. So I guess I'll just say, wait and see until we present what that is, and then once that's out, we can begin talking about further burn mechanics if we wanted to, if that doesn't provide enough meat for you guys to chew on.
Appreciate that. Yeah, very excited to share those details when the time comes, but the time has not come yet. Let's see. Is it okay? So this is a like in combat question. Is it intentional to let the combo roll if the previous skill was missed?
Can you say that again? Sorry, I was reading the chat and distracted.
Oh, you're fine. Is it intentional to let the combo roll if the previous skill was missed?
No, I think this is maybe about like Gladiator Strike, maybe. Because Gladiator Strike. Oh wait, I see. If it just the attack missed, but then you can still do the combo afterwards, is what it's asking.
Right.
Yeah, I think that was intentional.
That is how it works. So
that is how it works.
For that particular combo. There's others where you have to. I think we have others where you have to hit, if I remember right.
No, I don't think we do.
It might all be use.
Yeah, I think it's just using it. So yeah, we don't have any specific one that won't trigger right now. I mean, if you guys want it to be harder, we could do that.
Don't invite it.
You want your misses to be more punishing? You've come to the right place. This one is for Beetle, but also in combat. Would it be possible to see what skill is channeling on the channeling turn?
That is a great question. Hubert brought this up, so now he's doing a victory lap on mute.
Yay! Yay!
Dang it. But yeah, I think that's something that we do want to add. Most likely with the next class that shall not be named. I won't say anything else about that. But yeah, that's something that we would like to have in there. Maybe just like a label that shows under the hero's next turn that shows what's channeling, so you can keep track of that. Especially as we add more channeling abilities, and it's it's harder to keep track of.
Makes sense. I am sad that we gave Hubert a victory lap, but he said no so many times this AMA. I think he deserved it.
I'm happy about it.
I really like this suggestion from a Mellow Green Giant. Every time you miss, you hit yourself with the attack.
Nice.
Nat
Enjoy
one.
those final blows.
Nat ones all day. Let's see. I'm going to grab a couple more questions, and then we have Zealous, who is going to give us a bullish today. So we'll be bringing him up shortly. Thoughts on being able to remove or add individual heroes from the automatic quest requeue?
I do like that idea. I know it's if you want to do it right now, you just basically have to remove the whole quest from the queue and then add in a changed one. So it's a little bit more manual. It'd be nice to be able to do it, and looks like Zip says it's on the list. So cool.
Zip's got us in chat. So yes, it's on the list. Apparently. Beetle Dude question, I believe. When summoning, basically it's around persistence in filtering. So when summoning, each time you open Hero Viewer, you have to resort rather than it remembering your last sort. Any thoughts on updating that to remember the sort?
Yeah, I feel like this was a discussion a long time ago. I thought maybe there was a reason that you would not want that to be the case. And maybe it had to do with like hiring or something. I don't know. I'll have to rack my brain. I'm sure like Zipper probably knows because he remembers everything and I don't.
Oh, it sounds like it's also on his list.
Oh, are we sure that's what he was mentioning?
He said he said that he said we were doing it. I don't know. Oh wait, no, that might have been the first thing.
Talking about
That
the
might
other
have been
thing.
the first thing. Sorry.
I wouldn't be surprised. So yeah, it might be something that we'll need to review. Yeah, that's what Zipper's confirming. But yeah, I think it's something that we could review and take a look at. I know that I think I've run into that before and tried to think about it and was shot down, and then I don't know.
The list is long and mighty.
Yes.
All right. So we are officially caught back up on questions. We had been a little bit behind because we had the week where we focused in on updates. So we're officially caught back up. So congratulations, everybody. Also to the community. I'm sure you'll take that as a challenge, but oh well. Make sure that you submit questions on the talk.defykingdoms.com site or in the AMA questions channel in Discord, so that we can continue to answer your questions in these AMAs. I am going to go ahead and pull Zealous up onto the stage. But while I do that, and while we do not spill the class, does anybody have any final thoughts or comments or anything that they'd like to share before we close out?
Yeah, definitely. Styx Intern and Sarge and I are going to be at the Battle Mage Brewery in northern San Diego on Saturday afternoon from about 1 to 4 or 5 or 6 or possibly midnight. I don't know. Depends on how many flights of beer that we get on Saturday. But we're also going to be doing a Beeves and Bloats Twitter Spaces. So if you can't make it down there, make sure to listen in on Twitter. Always a good time. Big shout out to everybody in the community that's making awesome content. I know Hubert was on with the Mythic Squad dropped a little bit of alpha on there and had a great time doing it. So that was cool. But yeah, it's always great to get together in real life. Big shout out to Large too, who met Sunbear and I up at the GDC in San Francisco last week. We had a great time up there. Always get together in real life every once in a while, grab some beers, grab some food, have a great time and enjoy life. I mean, this is a good time right now, but looking forward to those of you in the community that can make it there on Saturday. And I'll shoot it back to you, Bolon.
One last thing for me, because I forgot, and I appreciate the reminders to mention it. But tonight at 11:30 Eastern, 8:30 Pacific, both myself and Winston Jazz Hands will be joining Mythic Squad to have a little fun and hang out. So if you're available, please tune in. I highly recommend it. You can watch me get rugged in real time. I've set up a dark summon that I'm sure to fail, and I can't wait. But it should be a good time. So if you're hanging out and want to tune in, please do. We should be having a lot of fun. All right. Any final thoughts from anybody else? All right. Over to you, Zealous.
Hey, I love you all and this community, and I gotta say, bullish.
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 Thanks,
Thank you,
Ellis.
guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everybody. We will see you next week.
Peace
Oh,
out.
it sounds like a bull.
DeFi Kingdoms, where you can summon heroes, trade with other players, quest, and fight challenging enemies in a fantasy world brought to life in pixel art animation. Command your legion, claim your legacy.